Welcome in again for another episode of the Critics Collective. I am Ron. I'm here with not so super fan Manny, and we are talking Stranger Things season 3. Why 'tis the season? Sure, I know we're getting ready for the holidays approaching, Christmas and all that jazz, but the season of Stranger Things is that blend between Halloween and you go into Christmas and there's Thanksgiving in there. And I know we want to get to the yams, but we've got to get to the review. We're going to talk about the lows, we're going to talk about the highs, and then we're going to rate it. All right. And before we do that, I just want to say, hey, look, we're not going to spoil anything just in case you've never watched any of the Stranger Things. So it's a safe place. It's a safe place. Now, the storyline is simple. 1980s is where they started in Indiana, and you have a group of kids who play Dungeons and Dragons. They like to hang out. And at some point, they find a mysterious conspiracy that leads into something else. And on top of that, they've got their friend Will, who's been dealing with some demons in a way. So you're watching that all play out, and new characters pop in and out, and things of that nature. So with that being said, as we get ready for season 5, hit the subscribe button, like, follow, and comment for more. And the Critics Collective, we would love to have you be a part of our family. So all that jazz. Now, with that being said, Manny, what are your highs and lows season 3 Stranger Things?
So one of I would say one of my highs is the character. What's his name? It
Which
would
one?
be
Max, Billy?
Max Mayfield. Uh, so he's basically the one that's basically kind of becomes the Harper. I would say to hell was like teaching her how to think for herself in this season and like and it just her growth, having to deal not only with her brother, who's a fucking total asshole, but
Really? Mm.
but it's just her character growth throughout the season, and you could see that relationship she's building with the crew throughout the time and trying to basically gain their trust throughout the film. But I would say it's probably one of my high end as far as the season go. Um, One of the lows, it felt like the whole Russian part. Uh, the whole I don't know. It just felt like a unnecessary added side quest story to me, as far as the season go. Um, it felt like it took away from the most of the story where it had to do with the kids and the whole void kind of story aspect of it. It felt it took a lot of focus away from the whole story, because if when you start Stranger Things, it's about these kids having to deal with these this otherworldly creature,
Hmm.
and now you bring in the Russian, and now they're involved. You have this secret Russian base under the school, and but having to deal with it. uh and it also felt like everyone was so, because season 1 and 2, where every time they had to deal with something, it didn't take that long for them to come together to basically deal with the problem. But this season, it felt like they were apart for so long. It felt forever for them to come together to finally deal with the issue.
Hmm.
Um, but and again, the Mind Flyer storyline was basically, I would say, like a remix of season 2 in a way. Um, it, it just, what I would say, what, bigger monster, but same idea from season 2. There's not much they did as far as the monsters go, I would say.
Okay. And that's your highs and lows for that one?
It's pretty much my eyes and low. I would say one good thing, as far as the kids growing older, yeah, like they're dealing with their, what I would say, growing pains, having to uh basically, like Elle and Max, their like their relationship bonding, and Harper, now having to be that frustrated dad dealing with Elle and her teenage emotion. That was different, but it worked. I like that story. And of course, Steve Harrington, who I would say is probably one of the out like one of the characters that's always stand out as far as those characters in the show.
Okay. All right. So for me, man, I guess the lows for me on this was the story. At times, yes, it did feel like Pixar, where they do Inside Out 1 and 2, and they're both really the same movie. They're just a different supporting character, but the vibe of it, the flow is the same. Um, the Russian thing, I don't care if it was any country you picked. I don't know why we do the Russian thing. I feel like we do it because maybe it's the Easter egg of the 80s movies. That was what
Cold
we
War,
did.
all that.
But I thought it was a great way to give a where we already at season 3, we already know about the lore behind the scenes, the brothers putting this together. I think it would have been beneficial had they went to New York. You would have kept the exact same plot. You wouldn't have to worry about the language thing. You could have seen maybe what they originally wanted to do in New York. I think that would have been cool had they been to Montauk or whatever it was called. I think that would have been awesome. It would have kind of gave vibes like Stephen King's The Mist. But they, they didn't go that route. That's just, it is what it is. The other thing about it was the trade for horror. We got action. Now, this movie was a movie that I got my wife into watching horror because she doesn't care for horror or anything scary. And it's like you stick your toes into the genre. And the same thing I did for my son, teenager. It was like, hey, check out these horror movies. And it opened the conversation. And we sat down, and every Halloween we watched, Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers for Halloweens and Megan, some of the new ones. But you got away from horror and you end up doing more action, which in turn made it fun, but it went away from what I really wanted. I wanted to stay in that horror lane. The other thing that I would say for this was the wrestling stalling. I mean, we have a show called the 1, 2, 3 Count, and we talk about wrestling stuff. And one of the things, if you watch wrestling long term or even old school, new, whatever in between, is when you look at a certain match, like picture battle royale matches, 4-man matches, Royal Rumble to be exact. War games is another one. There are times where to set up the next spot, the other wrestlers are doing nothing. They're on the side of the rope. They're outside. They fall down. They're laying there until they're told to come back into it. And that's what we got with the Hopper and everybody being disconnected. It felt like that. You knew they were coming back into the fold, and it really hurt the plot on it, which is a shock because it's the first time I said anything negative about the series. Episode or season 1 and 2, where me and Iris talked about it, it was nothing negative I had, honestly. But it made me think of these negative things. And I'll go a little bit further. I'm now aggravated that there's no Michael Jackson. There's no Michael Jackson in season 1, season 2, and
Maybe they
season 3.
couldn't
I know what
afford
you're
the
thinking.
catalog.
No. You can afford it. You can afford it. All right.
If I may add something, one thing I want to say is, since you brought up season 2, which kind of frustrated me with season 3, was that what happened to that character?
Nope, can't say it. Oh, which one are you talking about? The sister side quest?
Yeah.
We don't know. That's why people talk about it so much. They talk about season 2. There's an episode that we like to call it the sister side quest, where 11 meets her sister, and there's no conversation about it. And that's why some people like the season, some people don't. I just feel like if I was the writing team, I feel like I've heard all of the gripes. I've heard that the series is damn near perfect. I'm not spoiling anything. I would bring that character or elements from that episode back in season 5 to say there's a payoff, that everything was done intentionally. Yeah, there's the word I want to use. Smarter than a 5th grader. But I was pissed about the no Michael Jackson thing. I'm a big Michael Jackson fan. We got some stuff on Michael Jackson biopic. I did not see the trailer because I don't watch trailers for shit. But anywho, and yes, I know what happens to Michael at the end. It's not the Titanic. But this movie had me going back pissed, saying, wait, there's no Michael Jackson song. Like, and I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, season 1 and 2, that's 1983. They're about 2-3 months apart. But Michael Jackson had Billie Jean. He had just did the moonwalk. So you could have put that on a television, him moonwalking for just a second. You could have played Billie Jean. Everybody was doing it. Then season 3 is in 1985. 1985, you're probably saying, what song Michael Jackson doing in 1980? We are the world. We are the children. There's fucking children battling for the good of the world. It's right there. But anyways, let's talk about the good stuff that I felt. The Dad Panther Ron, the good things. Bill did an amazing job of acting Billy. I said this in season 2. he doesn't get enough love for what he did. I think he walked away from Halloween. I mean, not Halloween, Hollywood for obviously Halloween like things, if you know what it, you know. So he walked away from that. You don't see him in big projects, but he's a hell of an actor. Did a great job in it was Power Rangers. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. Should have got a sequel. He didn't get enough love. Erica, oh my gosh, Erica, I loved her in the second season, and they just ran with it on this one, and it was really cool. You have Dustin and Steve. Love that relationship. It's like big brother, little brother, but Steve's starting to come like a father figure in a way to Dustin, and I love what that's doing. You have Dustin and Susie Pooh, and you have the never ending story. And I was like, oh, as a dad, I wanted that for my daughter. Like I'm like, oh,
You know what's
that's
funny?
nice. So I thought that
That's
was cool.
actually a song in the in the series.
Which one?
Never ending story.
No, that's what I'm saying. They put that together. Yeah. So I thought it was a nice little Easter egg. They constantly keep putting those Easter eggs together. So I thought that was cool. Going back to the Erica thing and the Russian plot, the part where again I felt like it was it just pulled out the realism, was any other adult country thing, doesn't matter who it is, they would have popped them kids. They'd have just popped them kids. The movie would have ended, the episode would have ended because they would have showed up. Who are you? I don't know. And that would have been the end of it. Like what? It was too big of a threat, and I just felt like that was something. But going back to the good stuff, I thought the ending, they paid off for it. Billy, again, a great job acting, made me think about Bob and stuff like that. The mall, the 80s vibe, they were honed in, other than missing Michael Jackson on there. They were honed in. So I'm curious to see what they do moving forward. Now we have to move forward on this, and we move forward by doing a rating. We sit there and say, hey, look, from 0 to 5, 5 being excellent, 0 being horrible, where do you fit Stranger Things season 3? Okay, we're gearing up. We'll review season 4, but we're gearing up for season 5. You know, we're going to get a chance to see that later on this month in November. We'll get a chance again in Christmas, and then some areas are actually going to get, I believe will be on streaming too, but some areas are actually going to get this in theater as well, and that's going to be awesome because I believe more movies should do that, more shows should do that. They should pull out that element and put that out. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the ratings. And before we get into the ratings, hit the subscribe button, like, follow, and comment for more. Put in the description what you got, what you think. All right, Manny, where do you set this rating for season 3 of Stranger Things on Netflix?
So I'm gonna give it a 4. It was a good season, you know. Other than some subplot that I didn't like, the whole Russian bunker thing that I didn't quite agree with. Like the
Mhm.
production, you can see that it went up the scale as far as production goes. The character story, the character development was pretty good, you know, especially showing that how they deal with teenage emotion when they're older. The other issue was just, you know, just bring them together. It took so long. Like, you know, if you watch any superhero movie, you want your heroes to come together to deal with the issues for so long, which was kind of frustrating. And the other thing with the whole season 2, with the sister story in season 2, where you would think season 3 they would kind of give you an answer towards that. I didn't get that, but other than that, it was a good show. Enjoy it overall.
All right. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4. And it's a shocker that it's a 4. Not that Manny put it a 4, but that damn it, Ron, the Dad Panther, put it a 4. Because I put the other one so high. Like I said before, there was some stuff they could have tweaked and did differently for this one going into it. But what really saved it was the last, not the last part, but there's an epic moment that happens in the mall. And I think that's the saving grace for the overall season, with some really big call outs for, like I said, supporting cast that were leading it. Still think Will is to blame for all this shit. But anywho, with that being said, you could have been anywhere in the world and you chose to be here with me and Manny. Again, I'm Ron. And until next time.